Welcome everyone. Let's begin our lesson for today by going over the learning goals and success criteria. First, what are we learning? We're learning how to convert between trinomials and squared binomials, how to complete the square by splitting up the constants within a quadratic equation, and how to use completing the square to determine the vertex of a quadratic equation. How are we learning it? Through the Vertex Form Part I notes and the Vertex Form Part I assignment. When can we use this information? To rearrange your schedule in order to make space for another event. How do you know you learned it? By getting a score of 4 on the Vertex Form Part I assignment. Now let's take a look at our agenda for today. We will begin by going over the learning goals and success criteria. While we do that, you'll fill out your Get It Started. Once you've completed your Get It Started, we'll go over it together and answer any questions that you may have. Next, we'll do our weekly raffles. After that, we'll go over the Vertex Form Part I notes, and then I'll give you time to complete the Vertex Form Part I assignment. Once you've completed your assignment, we'll go over it together and answer any questions that you may have. At the end of class, we'll go back over our learning goals and success criteria while you fill out your before you go. Your only homework for tonight is to continue working on the quadratic study guide and any incomplete assignments that you may have. Let's take a look now at the Vertex Form Part I notes. The notes begin with the learning goals and success criteria. Now, first of all, what is the vertex of a quadratic? The vertex of a quadratic is the point where the graph changes directions. So what that means is it might start by going up, but then it's going to change directions and start coming back down. So that is a change of direction. So example would be, right here, we're going up until we reach this point right here. As soon as we reach this point, we start going back down. This point right here would be considered the vertex. Now, how do we find the vertex? The vertex of a parabola is found by using this formula. A times x minus h squared plus k. Now, this should look pretty familiar because this is basically the completing the square of a quadratic. So the h value is the x coordinate. Now, what is a perfect square trinomial? A perfect square trinomial is a trinomial that looks like this. X squared plus 2bx plus b squared. So b is some value. It'll be actually a constant. And the number here should be exactly double it. So an example of this would be x squared plus 6x plus 9. So we know that 9 is 3 squared, and 3 times 2 is 6. So this is a perfect square trinomial. When we factor this, we recognize that this becomes x plus 3 times x plus 3, or x plus 3 squared. We'll look at another example. Now we have 2x squared minus 12x minus 4. So we're going to factor out the lead coefficient because we can't complete the square if there's a number in front. So we're going to divide everything by 2. So now we get 2 times x squared minus 6x minus 2. Now we go through our steps like we did before. So we take negative 6 and divide it in half. Well, negative 6 divided by 2 is negative 3. We square that and we get 9. So that's what we need it to be. But instead we have negative 2. So we need to rewrite this. How do we get from 9 to negative 2? Well, we subtract 11. So now we have 2 times x squared minus 6x plus 9 minus 11. Now we rewrite it as a perfect square trinomial. So we get x squared minus 6x plus 9, and that becomes x minus 3 squared. And then we take this part and we just need to distribute the 2 back to it. So 2 times negative 11 is negative 22. So we get 2x minus 3 squared minus 22. Now there's a video here that shows you how you can use Symbol Lab to help check your work when completing the square. So go ahead and watch that video now. Let's take a look now at how we can use Symbol Lab to check our work when working with completing the square. So we go to Symbol Lab and we go to the completing the square calculator. We're going to go here and type in our equation. So let's say it's x squared minus 4x plus 9. We're going to go ahead and click Go. It shows us what it should be at the end, which is x minus 2 squared plus 5. And if we scroll down, it'll actually show us the steps of how to get there. So here's how we would do that. So this is one way that you can check your work when completing the square using Symbol Lab. Now, how do we find the vertex then? So once we've completed the square, now we just plug this in. So we recognize that this is the h value, and it's always supposed to be minus h. So my h value is just here, so this is going to be positive. So it's positive 3, and then my k value is supposed to be positive, so this one's negative, so it would be minus 22. So my vertex would then be 3, negative 22. So that's how I find the vertex once I've completed the square. Now there's a video here showing you how you can use Desmos to check your work when trying to find the vertex of a quadratic. So go ahead and watch that video now. Now let's take a look at how we can use Desmos to check our work when checking the location of the vertex of a quadratic. So we go to desmos.com and we're going to click on Graphing Calculator. Now whether it's in standard form or vertex form, we can type it in either way to check our work. So we can type in y equals 2x squared minus 4x plus 3. And we can see the exact location of the vertex. And if we click on it, it'll tell us exactly where it is. So it's at x equals 1, y equals 1. We could also do it in vertex form. So y equals x minus 3 squared plus 5. And we can see here that our vertex, if we click on it, is at 3, 5. So this is how you can use Desmos to check your work when trying to find the location of the vertex of a quadratic. Let's take a look now at the Vertex Form Part I assignment. The assignment begins with the learning goals and success criteria. If we scroll down, we can see the questions. So it says, find the equation that completes the square. Well, we know that we need to cut this in half. So if we cut 6 in half, we get 3. So we should have x plus 3 in parentheses. So it's going to be one of these two. And then from that, we know that we take 3 and square it and get 9. So how do we get from 9 to 11? Well, we're going to have to add 2. So we should have a plus 2 on the outside. So that's this one here. And we'll scroll down to the next one. So we have x squared minus 10x minus 5 is equal to 0. So we take half of negative 10, which is negative 5. So we know it should be x minus 5. So it's going to be this one or this one. And then we square it. So negative 5 squared is 25. Well, how do we get from 25 to negative 5? Well, we're going to have to subtract 30. So we should have a minus 30 on the outside. So here's minus 5 and minus 5. This one is minus 5 and minus 30, so this would be our answer. And then we'll continue to answer all of these questions until we get to the end. Once you get to the end, go ahead and click Next. This will take you to your Before You Go. Go ahead and fill out your Before You Go and then submit your work on Google Classroom.